All right, let's continue with Chapter 8, Interval Estimation. As always, pause the video often, take notes, complete the problems alongside with me, and pause often. In 8.3, we're going to be finding the confidence interval for the population proportion P. So the confidence interval for P is very similar to what we've dealt with before with P hat. So we're going to have our sample proportion P hat, the z-value associated. So we learned how to find the z-value way back in 8.1 part 1. And then we're going to use these values here to help us calculate the actual confidence interval for P. And we've done these calculations previously. So now in example 1, Jared Bean is estimating the proportion of all ultra green cars that obtain over 100 miles per gallon. So we're using the information in this table to construct 90% and 99% confidence intervals for the population proportion. So again, what the formula is we've got P hat or P bar depending on the textbook, but I use P hat plus or minus. We're going to find the critical z value associated with those confidence levels, and then we're going to multiply it by P hat 1 minus P hat over n. So what we really need here is we need P hat, we need n, and then for the 90% confidence we need the z, and for the 99% confidence we need the z, right? And then once we have that, we're good. So now how do we find the sample proportion here? Well, remember that the proportion is what you want over the total. So what does he want? He wants the cars that obtain over 100 miles per gallon. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7, and there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25. So we know that our n is 25. So there are 7 cars that have what he wants over 25. So our proportion is 0.28. The number of cars over 100 over the total. And so when we're looking at the 90% z, remember that alpha over 2 would be 0.10 over 2 or 0.05. And we know that our z with 90% is 1.645. And then this would be 0.01 divided by 2 would be 0.005. And we know that this is 2.576. So if we want to calculate the 90%, so the 90%, let's just actually do that right there. So the 90%, our P hat would be 0.28 plus or minus 1.645 times the square root of 0.28 times 1 minus 0.28 all over n, which is 25. So when we calculate this, and I'm actually going to show you because it can be a little bit tricky here. So how I like to do this is 0.28, 1 minus 0.28, and then hit enter. Divide by the square root of 20, divide just by 25. And then so I don't deal with rounding errors, I just automatically go to the square root of the answer. And then to keep not having rounding errors, I'm going to multiply it by my z-value, which is 6.145. And so I end up with, over here, it's going to be 0.28 plus or minus, let's get that back, 0.148. So that's the confidence interval for that. And then here we've got 0.28, and the only difference is going to be our z-score changes. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to calculate this value, multiply it, and go ahead and type that into your calculator, and you'll end up with 0.231. So these are the associated confidence intervals that go with 90% and 99% for this particular proportion. And here are the solution kind of written out for you to see. You can press pause to read that further. And then go ahead and give this a try, these two on your own. And these are those solutions, and that concludes 8.3.